You're listening to Health Professional Radio. My name is Patrick Reyes, and on today's show we have Dr. Alan Taylor. Now, he is the Executive Chairman at Clarity Pharmaceuticals. Welcome to the show, Dr. Alan Taylor.
Thank you, Patrick.
So, can you give us a little bit more insight on what it is that Clarity Pharmaceutical does?
Sure thing, yes. So Clarity Pharmaceuticals is a development stage company focused specifically on the development of radiopharmaceuticals. Radiopharmaceuticals, it's quite an interesting area where we can specifically target radiation to things like tumours, both using imaging to see whether you hit the target, doing prospective dosimetry so you can determine how much of the drug is getting to the target, and then optimizing dose, therapeutic dose, so you can maximize efficacy in the treatment of cancer and minimize side effects.
Now, does Clarity Pharmaceuticals at the time have any products and services that they provide?
We certainly provide services to the global pharmaceutical markets because an important question of pharmaceutical companies who are developing biological products such as peptides or antibodies, they want to understand where their product goes. So what we do is provide somewhat of a CRO service where we work with their products and to understand how much of the product gets to the cancer, if it's a tumour-based therapeutic, and how long it stays at the tumour, and then how it's excreted from the body. So that is our services side, and we've been running that business now for the last 3 or 4 years. But what we're really focused on is the development of what we're going to use to treat cancers in the future, and that is targeted therapies. So we've got a product that's already in clinical trials, which has been shown very good data to date and very compelling data, and we're looking to move that not only in neuro-endocrine tumours, which is an adult-based cancer, but quickly progress that into clinical development in neuroblastoma and other children's cancers.
I see there's very interesting services that your company provides. Now, I also see here that your company is into academic research.
Yeah, so what we're very focused on, and what Australia, quite interestingly, certainly over the last 6 months or so, is very focused on this translation of academic research and moving it into the clinic. Clarity itself is basically a corporate vehicle that does that. Our technology was first developed at the Australian Nuclear Science and Technology Organisation as well as the University of Melbourne in an academic setting, and what it is a chelator or cage technology that is able to bind to biological drugs but holds the element copper, which copper 64 for imaging and copper 67 for therapy. But what Clarity does is specifically we've taken that technology and moved it as quickly as possible into preclinical efficacy work and now into the clinic. And so we're very passionate, both myself and the Managing Director, Matt Harris, are passionate scientists, just asking the very simple question of how can science better our society? And in the case of Clarity, it's developing the next, hopefully developing the next stages of cancer therapy.
Now, our viewers or audience, they are clinicians of one kind or another. What would you like to let them know as a result of this interview today?
Well, it's quite interesting because we're a collaboration-based model, and we collaborate. And collaboration is when we talk about the importance of it, it's important at a number of levels. First, we need to develop the basic science and come up with somewhat of the original ideas and potentially the original patenting and things like that around particular products. But it's incredibly important that, as scientists, we collaborate strongly with the clinical environment. And we have strong collaborations with, groups like the Callum Cancer Centre, who are well attuned as to what's required by their patients. And certainly, we work closely with a clinician there, Professor Rod Hicks, and who is able to work with us so we optimize what we're developing over time. Instead of science working in isolation and not knowing what's happening in the clinical environment, but having this collaboration between clinicians as well as scientists So we have an iteration between groups over time where we can develop the best products to best service the market. Without clinical involvement or clinician involvement into that sort of scientific translation, you find that, your products don't meet the market. So, certainly the key message I'd like to put out there is that, having strong clinical input into a clinical pipeline, which might be rather early stage, if you're asking those important questions earlier on, which is, for a cancer clinician, how do we best treat the cancer by maximising efficacy and minimising, any sort of safety issues, having that close coordination between the scientists and clinicians is incredibly important to achieve that goal.
And another question which is a favorite question among health professional radio, is what is the biggest misconception that you get about your product?
Yeah, so we have, since we're sort of bridging, somewhat a new frontier, and there's a couple of products now that are coming to the market which are in radiopharmaceuticals, it's trying to get across certainly the safety and efficacy of using targeted therapies, given that we don't work in the areas of like small molecules and, such as chemotherapy, which, is killing good cells and bad cells. And even though that's the best we've got to work with at the moment, we're focused on that next level of targeted radiation products, radiation-based products. And so really getting across the idea that we can do that much more safely than small molecules is an important thing. Even though we're putting, small levels of radiation into the body, we found through the gathering of data over time that it's very safe and very efficacious depending on what cancers you're targeting. So really getting across that when we are continuing to develop these technologies, that given we can do prospective dosimetry, we can optimize dose and minimize side effects, that's really the key outcome we're looking for. So when we're actually looking at solid tumours, if we're able to garner more information through imaging, then certainly that bodes well for good clinical outcomes.
Now, Alan, is there a way for our listeners to get more information about Clarity Pharmaceuticals?
Certainly can. So we have a website, www.claritypharmaceuticals.com, which will give a good understanding of not only who we are and what we do, also recent news, and it also will give, we have a number of news articles of late, certainly with things like grant funding, capital raising, and things like that, which might give a number of clinicians some ideas how they can fund their early stage, products. And certainly, our contact details are there. So if any clinicians want to reach out and throw around some ideas or potential opportunities to collaborate, please feel free to give us a call.
All right. What is the phone number that they can contact you on?
Certainly. So we're located in Sydney, so 02-9209-4037.
All right. Now, if you missed that, the website again is www.claritypharmaceuticals, all one word, .com, and the phone number is 02-9209-4037. Dr. Allen, thank you for joining us today. It's been a real pleasure having you on Health Professional Radio.
Certainly a pleasure of mine, Patrick, and thanks for having me.
Definitely. Now, if you've missed my conversation with Dr. Alan Taylor, he is the Executive Chairman at Clarity Pharmaceuticals. And if you'd like to hear what he had to say, there's an archive audio file on both YouTube and SoundCloud, or you can also read a transcript of this conversation on our website. Now, all of those resources are available in the Health Professional Radio website at www.hpr.fm. My name is Patrick Reyes, and it's been a pleasure to speaking to you today, and thank you for spending your time with us.